Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, civilians of all ages, what's poppin'? Animated establishment Townzie. Bringing y'all some Jujutsu Kaisen love this time around. Volume 0, why I think you should read it, whether you anime only, you reading the manga right now, you catching up with the manga right now. If you ain't touched it yet, it's gonna be some minor spoilers in here, so be warned. There's gonna be some minor spoilers. It's not gonna be anything major. I'm not spoiling any huge plot points. There's a lot of huge plot points in Jujutsu Kaisen. That's why the story's so great. That's why you see people hyping it up. It deserves all the hype it gets. But Volume 0 don't get as much hype as it needs to. You should absolutely read Volume 0 if you like Jujutsu Kaisen. If you're a fan of storylines, I really would urge you to read Volume 0. If you haven't touched Jujutsu Kaisen yet, all Jujutsu Kaisen is they're called Jujutsu sorcerers, kids, adults. They exercise curses. They grow, they learn at Jujutsu High, and they use their own curses to exercise those curses. So it's really basic synopsis of the entire show, really, manga, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, they had their main character Yuji in the mainline manga, but this one we have young Yuta. It's funny how close their names are. Why then you, then only 4 letters. As far as when to read the series, I think that you could just pick it up at any point in time. Like I said, if you're manga only, if you're anime only, whether you catching up, whether you already caught up, I think it's always going to be a good time to read Volume 0. Just the thing about it is, I personally would say either the best times to read it would be before you start the series or before chapter 83, when arguably the biggest arc starts popping off and a lot of this information becomes relevant. A lot of it ends up relevant anyways because they mention events, characters there. Yuta, they mention this man within the first few chapters. We just never get to see him. And of course, this is his story and why he's important to the story. And so with that, since it's his story of Volume 0 and not Yuji Itadori, we get completely different vibes. And it's not just because of Yuta himself, it's because we get to see the second years that we already know, Maki, Panda, and Inumaki. We get to see them as first years. So the vibes are completely different because Yuta, Maki, Panda, Inumaki, they different people completely from Yuji, Nobara, Fushiguro. They are completely different people. So there's gonna be completely different vibes. Maki, Panda, and Umaki being side characters in the main series. So obviously we're gonna get a lot less of them than our main 3, you know what I'm saying? We get to see more of Maki and her feelings towards not only her family, but Yuta itself and how those change and develop. But things about her family are things that have already been delved into in the mainline series as well. It's just, this is Volume 0, you already have a pretty much understanding of what's going on with her. So by the time you see her in the mainline series, you have a pretty good idea of what type of person she is and why she acts the way she does. Same thing with Inumaki. We get to see more of him. We get to learn about his family. We get to see the fact that there's their sigil on his mouth. As far as his cursed ability goes, we knew exactly that it had adverse effects on him, but we get to see how he combats those adverse effects too. And it, of course, matters because of the situation they're in. It's really solidified Inumaki as my GOAT. I already liked Inumaki a lot just because his character design, his powers, cursed speech, all of that is gas. I love Inumaki. That was my guy. But it's just like in the mainline series, he didn't do too much. He puts in work. It's just in Volume 0, he puts in work. So if you like people like Inumaki, Maki, Panda, listen, man, Panda's just a go. They go into Panda's story into the actual mainline series. So Panda's just not. He's a little less a Panda, but Maki, Inumaki, and my guy Yuta go very deep into those guys. Even since this was Volume 0, and this was in a way kind of Gage's prototype for the Jujutsu Kaisen in the first place, it does a very good job explaining Jujutsu and the powers and how everything works. Very fast and not that confusing. And then when it comes to Yuta, honestly, I really wish I had more time with Yuta. Really wish he would. I can't wait till he comes into the story eventually because I really love his character. And it's hard for me to say. I like Itadori. I like Yuji a lot, but Yuta is just as likable. I really like Yuta as well, so it's kind of hard for me to decide whether I like Yuta or Yuji more. Both of those are the homies, both of them. Like I said before, Yuta's mentioned in the mainline series. We just don't get to know about him. We just know he's just this strong guy, and then the fact that he's a special grade user. So that's all we really know. That's it. That's all we know. But what Volume 0 does and gives us is obviously not only his character, but gives us a nice concept of other ways that we could have our cursed powers. So there's the concept of cursing people themselves. And as far as Yuta, as we know, when he started at least, he was cursed by his dead lover. As a child, of course. Made a promise to get married, passed away, and thus she cursed him. And since she did curse him and that's his lover, those are the feelings that remain the entire time during the curse. That's my lover. Don't touch my lover. If I see you touching my lover, you might have to catch this fade. His lover, who also at this point in time duos to be the curse that makes him so strong, because why is she so strong? We really don't know. There's a few lines that give us hints to why she may be so strong as a cursed spirit, but we didn't dwell deep into those, but I assume that we'll get those in the mainline series at some point. It seems like it's a pretty heavy plot point, especially if Yuta ends up coming back. And Enrica's crazy about her lover. Don't touch him, don't hurt him, don't do nothing. If he didn't give you permission to touch, don't do none of that. It's like, imagine Satan cursed the girl and was like, listen,
don't touch it. Don't do it. I'll beat your ass. No. Hey. Don't touch her. I know.
she's unbelievably strong. Strong enough so that made them call Yuta a special grade sorcerer. Another reason I really like both of them were Yuta as much as Yuji is because their characters kind of parallel with one another. You can actually pretty visibly see that why this was the prototype for Jujutsu Kaisen in the first place. Like I said before, Yuta and Yuji, very similar names, both start with YU and both of them are 4 letters. Inumaki actually looks almost exactly like Yuji, like almost exactly. Even in the actual volume, the physical volume, Gage actually has to let us know that this is not the same person. I guess he can obviously see that they're drawn almost the same. So we can see the similar names in Yuta and then a similar type of design with Inumaki. And then not only that, I wouldn't say that Yuji and Yuta are the exact same type of characters. Yuji wants to help people, and then Yuta wants to be relied on for help. He wants to be somebody that people can rely on. Now, both of them use their own experiences to drive those goals. Yuta, he was cursed by Rika. And then so since that is something terrible, something scary, something that people are just like, hey man, we might have to put him down. We really might have to put him down. He want to show people that it's okay to live, even if you got something scary like that. As long as you know how to control what you can, it's okay to live. And Yuji was somebody who has an execution coming up. He wants people to have a good death. People to have a death that no one wants to scoff at. So you can have an open funeral death. He wants people to have a good death. So Yuta wants to show people it's okay to live. And Yuji wants to make sure that people, when they die, they have a good death. So they kind of parallel one another, but in a yin and yang type of way. But both of them amazing characters. They act completely different. They got those parallels, but attitude wise, they act completely different. Yuji being your confident, strong MC, it kind of got a lot of your anime tropes. Obviously, they build on those tropes and doing very well. But Yuta is very shy at first. Of course, he relies on Rika to protect him. Well, I can't say relies on. She does exactly what she wants to do, and that's protecting him and without his choice. And with that, they're just completely different characters, but with similar parallels with them. Honestly, to be able to read about Yuta was one of my favorite reasons of reading in the first place. My other reason was Geto, who is the antagonist of Volume 0. That's somebody who was just in Jujutsu Kaisen, the anime you may have seen so far, or if you ain't caught up yet at all, they kind of just bring him in with no words. We see who our antagonist is, and they do a good job explaining our antagonist. But in the mainline series, he's not introduced as our main antagonist. But in Volume 0, he is, and we get to see a lot of his story. It's like when he pops up, he isn't explained for a while. The main antagonist is, but Geto is not. Even after his role is actually explained, it's still a bit confusing because there is just a lot to unpack when it goes over Geto, and Volume 0 is fantastic at giving us that exposition. His goal being to make Jujutsu sorcerers the top gun, to make them the top dogs, apex predators, all that. He thinks of humans just as monkeys. If you can't use Jujutsu sorcery, you're a monkey to him. Now, monkeys got their roles. He don't mind the monkeys, but he also don't mind killing the monkeys. He'll do that all he wants to, all he needs to. And of course, being the big bag, he's very much interested in Yuta, Rika, that combo, exactly what's going on there. He wants that. He said, I need that power for myself, man. And just like I said, Yuta is a special grade sorcerer. Geto is also a special grade sorcerer. There's only 4 of those, and that means if you're a special grade sorcerer, that means you are the top. You're at the top. Yuta is 1, and so is Geto. So when he pulls up on them and he explains that, hey, I'm going to be invading at December the 24th. We're going to go ahead and call it the Night of the Parade of 100 Demons, all right? Great. So I'm going to be invading at this point in time. Hope y'all have some fun. Here, have this monster, and I'm going to be up out of here. And he just left. He just left. How you flex like that? How you flex that hard? Who? What? Huh? Who do you think you are? That's, of course, a better introduction of Geto. Not to say that it's bad in the mainline series. It's just that we just obviously don't know who he is, and the focus is supposed to be on our other antagonist. Here, of course, we can get that dedication on his character and exactly his motives. which I explained to you. It's even to the point where he's displayed abilities that we haven't seen until literally the most recent chapters in Jujutsu Kaisen, literally last week. So the biggest reasons this title says and why I say you gotta read Volume 0 is so y'all can get that exposition, because I can't imagine, I mean, maybe he does put it back in there, but it's already there in Volume 0. You can already read Volume 0. They're even putting Volume 0 on the Viz websites. They're there now. You can just read it. And they show before Chapter 1. So honestly, if you read, I think you just had to do that. Volume 0, hit it up. Because after that, I like that character a lot more. And when things start to go down, you understand a lot more. And then when Yuta gets introduced, we'll already know that character as well. We've already seen it a few times with some of the other subjects when it comes to like Geto and Omaki mocking them. He's not gonna do all that explanation over again. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But there'll be of course, there's gonna be a brief synopsis for Yuta, but this right here, all this information, everything that happened here, there's no way he's just making another 4 chapters and then putting that right on top of Jujutsu Kaisen when he's already done it. I feel like you should consume this information now when it's relevant, so you already know what's going on. And then Volume 0 actually gives you a really good synopsis of the Jujutsu Kaisen world. Not the Yuji's story, but the Jujutsu Kaisen world. If you don't like Volume 0, you probably won't like Jujutsu Kaisen. Realistically, you probably won't like it. So, honestly, if you haven't touched Jujutsu Kaisen at all, you should probably pick this up. But my main things of why you should read it is going to be Yuta and Rika, as well as Geto. With those 3, we get a very good explanation of what went on with them, their past, and what they have to do with the story. They even bring up, like I said, they bring up the Night Parade of 100 Demons in the story multiple times. And as a non-Volume 0 reader manga or an anime only, you're just never going to get that information of what happened and why it's so important, because again, there's a lot to unpack with not only just Geto, but that entire situation its own. But those are the reasons why I think you should read Jujutsu Kaisen's Volume 0. It's that certified gas pack, story information that you love to see, breaks down characters that kind of didn't really exactly get shine because they're not the main characters. They got some shine, but they're not the main characters. Here they are, so they get shine and all of that. So pick up a copy of Volume 0 or just read it on the Viz site. The Viz, like I said, they have it now. There's some goats for that. You love to see it, so I feel there's no excuse. I think you should go ahead and hit that Volume 0 up, man. No, as far as this one goes, this review deal, this plea to get you to read, as far as that goes, that's pretty much all I got for y'all this time around. So like I always say, leave a like, comment, subscribe, pull up to the Twitch stream, pull up to the Discord, and y'all have a good one.